Hey everyone, welcome to Game Night. This is our Wednesday night discussion show, which we are calling Random Encounters. Max, where'd you
Yes.
come up with that name?
I was looking for a title for the show because I've seen a couple of different streamers that have their talk shows and they call it something cool. Um, I didn't know what to call it, so I was flipping through the Final Fantasy 11 Wikipedia page just looking for something because we've all played Final Fantasy 11
Mhm.
and one of the topics was just random encounters. I'm like, yep, that's it. We're going with
There
that.
it is.
I like
That's
how
great.
your strategy is the same as mine for picking passwords for work every time I needed to reset them.
Yeah. But
Good, good.
yeah, we're going with random encounters.
All right, well, welcome everyone. Random Encounters, episode 1. I'm Dan alongside Mex
Yep.
and Steve. Let's have a great time. So, Max,
Yes.
I'm not sure if anybody was watching earlier in the week, but you put up a nice long stream of Pokemon, and last week you had 42 hours, I believe, in the 5 days you had the game.
Yep.
What are we up to now?
That sounds about right. So let's see. It's been a week. So it's been 12 days. Let me answer your question by asking you a question. You buy a game that you really enjoy. You've
Mhm.
been playing it for 12 days now. What would you say is a reasonable amount of time over 12 days that you've played it? Keep in mind, you have a full time job, you have a family, you have a cat, you have a
Whoa,
dog.
whoa. You got to justify family there because you have epic amounts of time as a married, childless person compared to a married and any number of children
Okay,
person.
okay. Well, just in your world, what is a reasonable amount of time that you've been playing a game you really want to play and you really enjoy for 12 days?
So Dan's number and my number is going to be different. I actually could probably tell you this if the
Well,
Blizzard launcher tells you how long you've played a game for.
while you look that up, I think about 30 in 12 days,
30
30 hours
hours.
is probably something that I would put. Yeah, I'm thinking back to like Spider-Man. I beat that in about 12 days, and I have about 30 hours into it. So
So
I'd say
about
about 30,
2.5 hours a day, maybe.
somewhere in
On
there. Yep.
average. On average.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Steve, you're probably less than that, I would imagine. Maybe an hour a day, if that.
No, it's going to be more than that. So when I was getting really into Destiny 2 after I got my new video card, Blizzard launcher doesn't have it. I would play from like 7:30, 8 o'clock till like 12 every day that I could. I'd have to skip a day or two here or
Mhm.
there. So my mental math is horseshit. So let me
So
bring up a calculator.
maybe 4 hours on
Uh,
average.
let's say 3 hours an evening times maybe like 4 out of the week. So I said about like 24 hours in 2 weeks,
Okay.
give or take.
So you guys are kind of in the same ballpark, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's an unreasonable amount of time? Like you're playing way too much.
Well, let's just think about it. You're at work for 8 hours a day,
Hmm.
and you're asleep for 8 hours a day.
Hmm.
That leaves us with another 8 hours to play with. I
Okay.
think 8 hours is an unreasonable amount of time per day.
Okay, so in 12 days times 8 hours, it's 96 hours.
Correct.
I have 92 hours.
Now, have you played at work?
No.
And have you left it on at any point?
Well, you see, I beat the game in about 24 hours, and I'm in the point where I'm trying to shiny hut these Pokemon. So, like,
Yeah.
there's a very rare, very low odds that a shiny version of the Pokemon spawns. Um, so basically, after I beat the game, you just kind of farm up a combo of a certain Pokemon, and you sit and wait. You watch the Pokemon spawn. You wait. It takes maybe on average 4 or 5 hours to get one shiny Pokemon. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. So I am actively playing, but I'm like watching TV and doing other stuff, looking at the screen every 20 seconds or so.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
That's like new levels of game addiction.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
you,
it's
have you? That has to be the most video games you've ever played over a 12-day span.
No. I mean,
Hmm.
back in when we lived in the apartment, me playing Final Fantasy 11, I played probably easily 12 hours a day.
Okay.
Yeah. From like
Yeah.
when I woke up to when I went to bed.
Well, that's
I-
essentially what you're doing now.
Yeah.
I can't
pretty
tell
much.
you how many hours I must have put into Final Fantasy 11 from the time we graduated high school to the point at which I had to start going to college. Like that summer,
Mhm.
that gap in between. I probably melted like a good solid 2 days of just like you wake up, start playing. Eventually, you're like, I feel hungry and I've been up for 12 hours, so I should eat. And then you almost start to pass out because you're doing some like menial task like mining, and you're like, all right, maybe I'll go to bed.
Yeah.
Or I'll just join a party. I finally got a party, so I got to play for 8 more hours.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this game, so I'm gonna continue to do this. I'm gonna continue to stream when I kind of feel like talking for 4 hours at a time.
Yeah, you did a really good job, even
Yeah,
though nobody was watching.
Nobody was watching, but I was kind of on a loop with what I was saying, probably every 20-ish minutes. Because if anybody was watching, I didn't want to just repeat the same sentence for like 4 hours straight. I was
Sure.
trying to spread out everything I was talking about, and then I was kind of repeating myself every like 20, 30 minutes. But I had fun, and I'm gonna continue to stream
Yeah.
that
Have
game
at
in
it.
particular.
While we're on playtime, I just have a question for you guys. What is the game that you sunk the most time into on Steam? What's
Oh,
your
my Steam numbers are really low. I don't even know. I think it's Eternal, probably.
Eternal?
Yeah.
Mine's easily Dota 2.
Actually, I can tell you guys because I think I have both of you on here. I have 831 hours on Terraria, but probably about 150 that aren't real because when you used to set up a server, it would start counting you as playing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd leave that up for like a week or two. Shank, one of our mutual friend, he put a crazy amount of time into Team Fortress 2. He had like 1,500 hours on like reported, but that game came out before there was like a reset in the recording, so he was like, I easily doubled that.
He probably lost 2,000 hours, to that timer not being up yet.
I bet you he could have made a lot of money if he put that much time into it after the loot boxes became a thing. He probably would have had tons of old school shit.
I would imagine if you put that much time into it, you're probably pretty good at it too.
Yeah, I haven't seen or talked to him in almost a year. I ran into him once. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my total's completely weak compared to yours. It's just Eternal at 75 hours.
Yeah, I'm trying to open Steam, but it's like updating right now, so I can let you know in the future.
Terraria is probably like my legit tons of time. Then I've got 2 idle games, which I should just never play those. Ark Survival Evolved at 184, but that's another one that I had to leave up for a while because I was hosting a server. Then Far Cry 5, which is legit.
How many hours is
good.
that?
174.
Damn.
Followed
When
by
you guys play games, you guys play the shit out of games.
Yeah, man, I don't fuck around. I'm gonna play the shit out of this game until I go crazy.
Well, I know the answer for you, Max. You're not playing anything new. Steve,
No.
you playing anything new this week?
I was still playing that Dung Greed game. I do actually really enjoy that because I can take bite-sized chunks out of it.
Mhm.
And for the first time in like a year and a half, I played D&D again,
Oh yeah,
and I was fucking psyched for that.
good stuff.
Yeah, I love D&D. It's like
Something I've always wanted to play, like try to get into, but it's never had the opportunity.
well, we played once, Ryan and I. I did like basically a single dungeon to see if they were interested in it. Ryan didn't really care for it.
Yeah, no, it was just too slow for me, I guess. Also, that
Well-
day it was raining really, really hard, and that was the first day my basement flooded. Because I remember
Ooh.
I was upstairs and I was watching it rain, and like the water was pooling up in my backyard. I'm like, that's gonna be bad. So like after we stopped, I went downstairs. I'm like, yeah, my entire basement is completely flooded.
So there's two ways you can play D&D, and one is basically just a dungeon crawl where everybody just wants to roll dice and kill stuff. And the other way is like actual role playing and getting into it. And that's not really playing the game as just getting 4 or 5 people together and acting. You're just acting with a group of people. We don't role play that much. We're more of like a roll dice and kill things. But D&D is really interesting in that you have such a freedom to do whatever you want, because it's only, bound by what your DM will let you do.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you've all heard the stupid shit where somebody's like, all right, half your party's dead and you're the like rogue and you're fighting a dragon. It's like, what are you going to do? I'm going to seduce the dragon, and the DM will be like, fine, roll, and you're totally screwed. And then they roll a natural 20 and they're like, shit, how's this supposed to play out? As a DM, that's really frustrating, but it does make for some really interesting just events, because really anything that you can imagine can happen. So I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
Well, hopefully by this time next week, I have some. The hell's the name of that game? Keyforge. I have some Keyforge decks in the mail that should be here on Saturday.
Nice.
So I'm hoping to we'll hopefully have a new game to report on next week.
Yeah.
My new game, I was playing Red Dead Redemption Online, and I don't like that.
No.
But I didn't like Red Dead either, so it might grow on me. I don't know that I'm going to have the patience.
You
to
said last
keep
week
at
you
it.
liked it, didn't you?
Oh, I do. Yeah, no, Red Dead.
No,
Red Dead's
like,
a good game.
2 weeks ago you hated it. Last week you liked it. Now you hate it again.
No, Red Dead Online is a completely different monster than Red Dead Redemption. It's a completely different game. It has its own story. You play as your own character. It's the shooting isn't tight enough to warrant it being a good like deathmatch game, and I don't want to play a game where I'm trying to do story quests when somebody can as soon as you like bring your map up, somebody's coming up behind you and hog tying you and dragging you away on their horse every time.
Yeah.
Hey, you now understand why I never enjoyed any game that had open world PvP, because I'm trying to do shit and somebody's.
If I had a posse with me to watch my back, I think this game would be a lot of fun. But I don't see any of you guys getting into it.
No.
And my other friends that play don't play online, so it's not doable.
No, I just by the nature of how much time I have, MMOs are out. I mean, Destiny 2 was an exception because I just play alone.
Yeah, I mean it's not really an MMO. It's pretty drop in and drop out on the online half. Like the missions are pretty bite size, and there's a pretty good matchmaker. So if you have to do something that requires other people, it just sticks some randos in your party, and it worked fine. The one mission I did, but I didn't care for it. I went right back to playing the first person or the single player game.
Yeah.
So it's on another podcast. There's these guys that would always say, is X and X game any fun online? And they'd say, well, it would be more fun if you had a group of friends. But then the one guy kind of snapped back and he's like, literally any game is fun.
Oh, yeah.
If you have a group of friends.
Oh my God, yeah.
So,
I mean, it's...
So if you were playing with nothing but randoms or solo, is it any good?
I don't think so. They still can change it. They're still calling it a beta. I got really mad because I went in and I had a couple of bucks, and I went and I was looking at my horse and I was looking at what I could do to my horse, and I paid $17 to braid my horse's mane, and that was all of my money, and I had no more money to do anything, and that's when I decided I wasn't going to play Red Dead Redemption Online anymore.
I heard the economy was real fucked up.
It's real broke. You can't make any money in it. They really are emphasizing you buying their premium currency. Now, the premium currency is only for the cosmetics, which is good. That's the agreed upon appropriate way to monetize your game. But if you have to spend all of your money on bullets like the money you have to grind for, you have no money left for cosmetics. So the only way for you to customize yourself is to buy the premium currency. So it's in turn still pay to win.
Mm.
Yeah, I saw a Reddit post that talked about fishing was like the best way to make money. Like if there's like special fish or something that you can sell, and they
I'll
were
have to
talking
look
about
into it.
making hundreds of dollars. I'm like, really? That's like
Well,
good?
it's in 1900
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
currency. It's not quite. I mean, they jack the prices up for online. I mean, they're like 10 times more expensive for stuff to buy on the online version than in the regular version, and stuff doesn't sell. You get a gold ring, and they'll give you like 35 cents for it. So buy a can of beans, and it's $1.50.
I think Red Dead, is it, which one is this? Redemption?
Redemption 2, yeah.
Redemption, yeah. So I think this is the first AAA super hyped game that I've had zero interest in whatsoever.
Really? Were you a Red Dead 1 guy? Did you play the first one?
No, because wasn't it a console exclusive?
Yes.
Yeah. So no, I didn't have it, so I didn't care. But the second one is out. I hear people getting really into it, but the setting doesn't do anything for me. And I'm actually starting to kind of come back on it because everything is about this fucking game right now, and it's one of those things where you start to hate what's popular.
Mhm.
And like I enjoy watching Kotaku's clip of the week,
hmm
and for the past like 2 or 3 weeks it's been 99% Red Dead Redemption shit because the game's buggy and fucked up. And I'm just like, okay, is anybody playing literally anything else? Like, somebody had to submit a clip of like Pac-Man glitching. Just let me see that at this point.
I'm sure that they probably got tired of seeing Fallout 76 glitches. So
Actually, there weren't that many of them. I think it just
That's-
went right into Red Dead.
yeah, well, more people are playing Red Dead than Fallout 76.
Yeah, it's because it sucks.
All right. Well, speaking of sucks, THQ Nordic is losing their goddamn minds. They are a new company that took the name of THQ, which wasn't a very good company to begin with, that went out of business. They had all of THQ's properties, and they've been buying shit up left and right. And their most recent acquisition was Carmageddon. We talked about Carmageddon a couple weeks ago with Tim. Did you guys ever play Carmageddon?
No, I don't think so.
It's a car combat game that everyone lost their damn minds about back in the 90s because you could go into a first person view and a body would splatter onto your windshield and you had to turn your windshield wiper on to get the blood off.
No, I've never played this, but I'm looking
If
it up right
that
now.
if that doesn't ring a bell, then you didn't
No.
play it.
Yeah, no.
No, the one I was thinking of was it was kind of a mediocre racing game, but the whole purpose of the game was all the mini games where you would just like it was about physics and your car getting all
Talking about
smashed up.
Burnout.
Yeah, that's the one because
Yeah,
I
that's a
remember
really
pla-
good game.
I remember
They
playing
did-
the one where you would crash into the wall and eject out of the car and try to
Mhm.
hit a board
Yeah.
like darts.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
that's a really good game. They just released a remaster of the first two games, I think.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Not gonna buy it.
And you should look into that.
Yeah, no, not gonna
But
buy it.
but because so THQ Nordic has acquired a lot of stuff over the last 2 years. I included a small list. Is there anything in there that's catching your guys' fancy, or is there a game franchise that is long dead that you think THQ needs to come in and resurrect?
Unfortunately, a lot of these games are mediocre, and I don't.
Wow,
feel
that's
are-
they
are
they
worthwhile.
specialize. THQ specializes in mediocre
Yeah,
video games.
This is
All right,
not
well,
high quality content. I mean, the game that's jumping out to me is Time Splitters.
Actually, that's the only one that
Yeah.
I think is worthwhile.
We played the shit out of that game when we were like in middle school
Yeah,
or high school or something. Time Splitters. I don't. Did you have 1 and 2? I don't remember.
Yes, I did. I enjoyed them both equally, and then a while back I tried to play them again, and I can't play shooters on controllers at all. I'm like a 2-year-old all over again.
That was also a pre-Halo controller style.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This was
That
probably back on what, like regular PlayStation, I think.
GameCube.
No,
Time
Splitters
no. Steve,
one,
had, you had
yeah,
PlayStation.
it was a PlayStation.
Yeah. Maybe
Time
2
Splitters-
was on PS2.
Yeah,
I
it was
don't
definitely on
remember.
GameCube and PS2.
Saints Row, I actually really like that series, but it kind of came to a natural end because each Saints Row sort of escalated the world in which they were in. Where like the very
Yeah.
first one was gang versus gang take over the city. The second one was like, all right, you're an established gang, and by the end of it, you become the president of the United States. And the third one was, you're the president of the United States, aliens attack, blow up the world, and they put you in a simulation, and now you have to get out of the simulation and destroy the aliens. And I didn't finish it, so I don't even know how you'd go to a fourth one, but I don't know how you're going to escalate any further or move on from there.
Well, I mean, these aren't games that they're making sequels of. This is just
Yeah,
a list of their.
these are just some of their
current IP.
licenses.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know what you'd do with it that hasn't already been overdone at that point.
Well, they'll probably sit on it for a while. They've got a lot of stuff to work through. If you go on their Wikipedia page, and I do encourage you to go on their Wikipedia page and just pour through the trash that they now own. This is the creme of the creme of the trash that they own.
Yeah,
when
if
I
these are
look
the
into this
good
document.
games, then I'm scared to see what their bad
Dude,
games
what
are.
are you telling me? You're not excited for Kurt Schilling's Kingdoms of Amalur?
That one is funny because they probably paid like 6 cents for it, considering it cost the state of like what Rhode Island a couple $1 million.
Yeah.
Titan Quest is a weird one because unless you get a good team behind it to make something out of it, there's nothing interesting about the world or the storyline because there isn't really much of one. So it's just sort of a clone of Diablo. So you have to make a better Diablo or Path of Exile or whatever.
Mhm.
Because there's no main character, there's no real story behind it. So you're just
Well,
gonna have
they're definitely, from what they've produced, they're really trying to lock in on the AA space. It's not a complete, open world 90-hour game. It's more the bite size. Like Darksiders 3 just came out. I'm not sure if you guys played any of the Darksiders games, and it was a perfectly okay game.
No.
Like, and that's where they're really happy being. Just 90-person, like sub 100-person teams, putting a little bit of money into something and making a pretty good okay game.
Yeah,
most of those.
there was no point to Goat Simulator. Did you play that game?
Oh, I played it on my phone.
Like
didn't-
I played it on my one of my computers, and my CPU just was like stuttery, so it didn't run very well. But there's like absolutely no point to that game.
No,
And my
you
nephew,
try to you get achievements.
my nephew loves it, but he's like 12. So
I actually agree with you. I bought that game when the hype for it was like pretty real,
mhm.
and you could do some like meme worthy for the LOL stuff, but for the most part, there wasn't really anything to do. It
Yeah.
wasn't very interesting,
No.
and they put in more stuff into it when I went back, and I was like, well, this is interesting, but I still don't really like it.
Yeah, it's
not very
interesting
fun.
for the first minute when you run through everything and then you
Mhm.
get run over by a car or whatever, or you jump on the trampoline. But after that, it's like, okay,
Yeah,
next.
there's no goal like go find this stuff.
Yeah,
or,
if it was like
I didn't play long
you
enough
know what?
to find out any of that stuff.
if it was like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, where you had to go around and collect letters to like spell out something, that would make the game 1,000 times better.
It would. I think if Tony Hawk was just open and you could with no time limit,
Mhm.
collecting letters would probably be stupid. But
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on to our next topic, because we always seem to like stay on one topic for way too long. So this is a rapid fire segment. We're calling it "Do You Care?" They're little bite-sized stories.
You
and
should
I'm
have
gonna
made
read-
by the way, you should have made a little graphic for me to like
make a-
switch
I'll make
over, and I
I'll
can
make a stinger.
change the scenes and whatnot.
I'll make a stinger for you.
Yeah, we'll do that next week.
Because then maybe you can pull up I'll include the links to this and you can pull up like the videos and whatnot.
Yeah.
All right,
Uh,
first one. PUBG Mobile Resident Evil 2 crossover. Do you care?
No.
Nope. All right, Tim's not on.
Yeah.
Crash Team Racing Remaster is being maybe revealed at the Game Awards tomorrow.
No.
I would actually enjoy seeing that. I did not put a lot of time into CTR. I think I only played a demo, but I loved it. Never actually
Well,
played the real game, so who
You,
knows?
you might be able to finally get to play the game.
Yeah.
Pokemon Go trainer battles finally have details.
Do you care? No,
No,
you
that's
guys
not-
don't play
that's
Pokemon Go.
That's
so-
not enough to bring me back.
I'm probably the only one that plays Pokemon Go here, and I don't even care. I mean,
No,
it,
that's
it's
something you're looking forward to.
yeah, no. Just a side note, it's really cool that these you can battle people far away. normally, like if you're trading with your friends or whatever, they have to be like literally right next to you.
Mhm.
But with this, you can actually battle someone as long as you're like in a certain category of friends with them. Like you have to
Mhm.
do open gifts and crap, a large amount of times to become like best friends with somebody. But like you could battle someone in like China as long as you were friends with them or good friends with them. And that's something you can't currently do in the game, which I think that aspect is cool. But the PvP, I think it's stupid.
All
Do
right.
you get anything for PvP, or
Yeah,
is it just
there are some gifts that you can get, but or
They
and
said
some
that they said there's
items.
going to be rare candy, rare. I don't know what candies are. What you use to evolve things in that game, right?
Yeah.
There's some kind of rare Pokemon candy would be the goal for
Yeah.
doing these battles.
I think it's cool, but me personally, I'm not interested.
All right. New Tony Hawk game coming to mobile next week.
Yes.
Yes.
Is
So
it
same here.
is it free?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, it
then
is.
definitely yes. I will be
Yes.
playing that.
This is your standard mobile free to play. You have to unlock more gems to keep playing type game.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming December 13th, Android and iOS. You can go, if you Google search Tony Hawk Skate Jam, you can go to their website, and they have absolutely no information available, but you can pre-register to get into the first tournament.
Then yes,
I
I'm
think
interested.
this might be like one of the first mobile games that I might put some actual time into, because I am in dire need of some Tony Hawk in my life.
when I skimmed this over and I saw a new Tony Hawk game, I was like, no, I don't care. And then now that you tell me it's an Android game, I super fucking don't care.
All right, Fortnite. They're releasing a Minecraft-like creative mode tomorrow. Do you care?
No.
All right. Well, I'm still going to stop you anyways, because I think this is going to end up being an important topic. I should have put this in a real one, because I do have some things to say about it.
Yeah.
This is Epic just being brilliant, not letting their IP get stale. I watched they gave the mode to some influencers and let them make videos about it, and I found the least annoying one and watched him play for a little bit, and it looks like a lot of fun. Like you get all the assets from Fortnite, and you can design the level down to the T, like down to the, put a bookcase here, put this here, put that there. And then you get to decide what the game mode is, if it's going to be a death match or a race or anything like that. So, I mean, it's just extending the life of a game that's already so popular. So I think it's a brilliant move on their part.
So I'm going to agree with you in that I think it's very important for them to do, and it's a really good move, and I think it's going to be very popular. But in the section of do we care? No, I don't give a shit at all. I mean,
all right. Well, hey, this next one you put in here, and I'm going to find out if we actually care about it or not. Fortnite's dance creator to pursue legal action against Epic. Do you care?
I think it's interesting, right? Because I read that topic and I was like, I kind of laughed at it when I first saw the guy Turk when he was bitching that they stole his dance. But then when that rapper guy, who I don't fucking know, he was gonna sue them, I kind of laughed at it because I was like, that's dumb. You can't fucking trademark a dance, right? Actually, you can. you definitely.
Oh yeah, no, I looked up the trademark
And-
laws. When you sent this stuff to me, I had to do some research on it, so I'd have something to talk about.
Well, not only can you do that,
can-
it's not even necessary. They actually trademarked their dance on the 4th, which was what, yesterday. So but you don't even have to be able to try to claim it, which I thought was interesting because I didn't know that. But they also are now, because that's 2 or more people that they have stolen dances from, and they are black, they're now exclaiming racism at the same time. So it's getting deeper and stickier. And even though I don't play the game, it could be any game, and I'm just that's an interesting.
That's the funny thing. Like, do you think that Blizzard okayed it with all the people that they stole their dance moves from for all their characters? Britney Spears, Beyonce, the Macarena. I mean, those were all in World of Warcraft 15 years ago. Nobody
So
gave a shit.
I'm kind of wondering where you draw the line on this sort of thing. Does it have the same copyright of like X many years, where somebody had claimed that they owned that Happy Birthday song? And so for the longest time, you couldn't sing happy birthday in restaurants. Like restaurants couldn't sing it to you because of that. And eventually they sorted it out so they can, even though most people just won't anymore. And I also wonder if they kind of got away with it because they stole dances from people that I don't want to say don't matter, but don't really have any star power. Where if Michael Jackson was still alive today and still relevant, if they had swiped Thriller without having asked him.
Well, that's
Thriller was totally in World of Warcraft. That was one of the whose dance was that? It was one of the Horde.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But this
probably
seems
the
like
Undead.
I don't know who this 2 Milli guy is. That his name?
To Millie.
2 Milli. I don't know how relevant he is, like Steve is saying.
I don't think he's very relevant at all.
It kind of sounds like almost a fake lawsuit to get interest into what's going on. You know, like this guy's not relevant.
Brilliant for him. He's not going to win.
Yeah,
you got to understand. Epic has more money than God right now. Like
this seems more like a publicity stunt than like an actual winnable lawsuit.
Yeah.
You know,
no, they're not gonna win this.
Well, actually, the guy who is the lawyer for for the rapper.
Yeah. Really.
There's also another lawsuit that they have against them for Gears of War, because there's I think like a football player.
There's a character that looks a lot like the main character, one of the characters from Gears of War.
Yeah, so I wonder if they're just bundling it up into one big "please stop copying people" type deal.
Well, they're just going after like the most popular things at the time, I guess. You know, why not?
Maybe.
We'll see.
But yeah, no, don't care about anyone being sued at Epic.
I just thought the whole stealing a dance as a legal thing.
Oh no,
it was interesting.
It definitely is interesting, and
I mean that's why we did do the chicken dance at my wedding. We didn't want to get sued.
All right. It looks like Far Cry is gonna announce a new game tomorrow at the Game Awards. Do you care?
I would imagine
yes.
Steve does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Obviously, we just said that you just put over 100 hours in Far Cry 5. So, according to the trailer, which I watched, it looks like it's going to happen after the events of 5. Spoiler alert for the end of Far Cry 5: a nuke goes off. And it's going to be post-apocalyptic. And that seems to be about all I could pull out of this. Now, you played the game. You probably watched the trailer. Did you see anything else that
well,
noteworthy?
The pre-trailer to the real trailer doesn't show shit. And
yeah.
it's live action, so there's nothing from in the game. At least I'm pretty sure it's all live action. But I'm a little concerned about it because I want to say like modern shooters. I want to see like whatever the current shotgun machine gun is to shoot people, and the post-apocalyptic thing, I don't want to see a Fallout deal where like I said, I'm kind of concerned because the guy took like a buzzsaw blade and stuck it in a crossbow, and I'm like, I don't really want to kill people with that. I want to take the classic like, you know, machine gun and just mow people down. I don't want to have to fucking put together a pipe and some black powder and wind up with like a blunderbuss that I'm rolling around with. Like it's not terribly interesting to me. So we'll see how the weapons go, because that's part of why I want to play an action shooter to shoot people. But I really enjoyed Far Cry 5 more than I thought I would. They solved a lot of the issues they had from previous games. The controls for doing things like flying and vehicles were really well done. There's lots of shit to do that was just interesting. It had just the right amount of weird, janky stuff going on as you're like cresting hills trying to get to the next encampment. You get jumped by like a fucking bear or a badger, or in the beginning, turkeys were overpowered and they just creep up on people and just wipe them out. I mean, it was a lot of fun getting into a firefight with a bunch of dudes, and then all of a sudden, like a cougar comes out of the woods and just takes out the guy that I was shooting at, and I'm like, well, okay, time to... That was cool. So I really enjoyed it. I'm concerned about a post-apocalyptic because I think it could be less fun, actually. But they did a good job so far. The DLC, I don't know anything about that. I didn't buy any of the Far Cry 5 DLC because
the DLCs were not. They were like crazy stuff, like World War. They had like Nazi stuff and Mars.
There's
And it's-
Vietnam, Mars, and a horde mode with zombies. So
Gotcha.
you're splitting off into 3 completely unrelated things to
Hey.
the main game. But
Hey,
the,
that's, sometimes that's a good idea to, instead of just doing the same crap. Because I'm not interested in the Spider-Man DLC. I know it's just going to be another
yeah.
5 hours of story missions that I don't give a shit about. So you know.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. Little concerned. And I'm
So-
sure there's going to be callbacks to Far Cry 5 because
Oh yeah, it definitely looks like it's going to be a continuation. Do you think this is going to be a full game, or is it going to be more like an expansion, something like Blood Dragon, or I know Far Cry Primal wasn't an expansion, but it was the same map, same assets, same everything.
I don't know if it's going to be a actual upgrade over Far Cry 5, but considering the 2 DLCs that they had for 5, I think the maps were almost as big as the main game. So the DLCs for 5 were basically like their version of Blood Dragon.
Gotcha.
And they did say that one of the devs for 5 said that it's done. It's not going to continue. So this will be a new story, new game.
You think this is you thinking this is going to be like a brand new from the ground up, maybe even like a next gen game? Because you got to think that something's being announced.
No, I think it's going to be probably on the same exact engine, so it's not going to look any different than 5.
So you're seeing a pretty quick turnaround. You're thinking like an out this year, like 2019 release date.
Wait, 2018.
2019. 19.
Like shit, dude, we got 20 days left.
No, 2019. I think any game that you're announcing new and that you haven't seen anything for, you really got to start thinking that this might be a PlayStation 5 game.
No, I think it'll come out probably like the summer or something like that. Because Far Cry is a good series, but I don't think it's good enough to be one of those games that you tease like a year and a half ahead of time.
Good. All right, well, that was Do You Care? We ended up caring about more things than we didn't care about, mainly because we were the ones that put these topics in there. So next week, you guys' homework is to find some topics that you think that we may or may not care about, so we can make this segment twice as big and have more stuff that we don't care about. The meteor topic of the night has to do with some boring ass shit. Revenue sharing for online distribution. And I'm going to go through a couple of things, and then hopefully the discussion that we have at the end of it will make up for the fact that I'm just reading a bunch of numbers. So Steam last week announced that they're going to increase the take, or they'll decrease their take on games that sell over $10 million on Steam, which is a very small amount of games that sell on Steam. And then reduce it even more over 50 million. And then Epic, being the heroes of the industry that they are, they seem to be doing everything right, came in and go, oh, you're going to do it, you're going to take it down to 80/20 for just your highest tier. How about 88/12 for our new storefront that we're going to announce, and we'll cover the 5% royalty if you use Epic, the Unreal Engine. So this is kind of what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about competition in digital distribution. And when Tim was saying that, if you're going to buy digitally, man, they're going to set the prices because you got to go to them. Well, now we're seeing a prime example of 2 companies that are going to fight for your dollars. And I think that digital actually might end up being cheaper than physical in the long run. You guys have anything to say about digital distribution?
I just have a question about the Unreal Engine. Is that owned by Epic?
Yes. Yep, they own the engine. When they came out with the current Unreal Engine, Fortnite was their showpiece. It was the game that they were just designing to show off the assets of it. It did awful until they brought out the Battle Royale mode, but they've been doing everything right. They have a digital store where you can buy assets from them. Fortnite made so much money that they reduced the price of everything in there. They're coming in here saying, we're making enough money. We've set up all this infrastructure for accepting foreign credit cards and all the stuff that's hard, all the stuff that all the reasons why a small company can't distribute their own games. They're coming in and saying, hey, we have this already taken care of. Come to our store. You'll get more money here. And I'd love to see, I got to see some some numbers of the amount of boxes that have the Steam or that have the Epic client on them now that Fortnite's the biggest game in the world.
So I was giving this some thought, and I have to say I used to be a huge Steam fanboy because for a while there you had a whole bunch of competitors sort of crop up and kind of floundered and died. Like Origin, Uplay, for a while just the Blizzard marketplace was like that too. And I was like, it's never ever worth getting any of these because I don't want to sit here on my computer and have to open 3 different fucking storefronts to go to your games, which is why I never played any more of the I think the Call of Duties or Battlefields because they're all on Origin. And there were a few on Steam, but once they made the switch, I never played them again. And I don't want multiple libraries of games. I'm so invested in Steam that that's the way I like it. But as time progresses, I feel like Steam has become very lazy. They've had a lot of systemic problems that they just never dealt with until they were almost forced to. So people would scream about wanting like refunds, and they didn't do it until I think like the EU almost mandated them to do it, or some legal action took place. They still have some fundamentally broken things, like their customer service just fucking sucks to have to deal with. And I think competition would be good for getting some of these issues resolved. But I think Steam was at its pinnacle a few years ago before they had their face change, because I remember all the games on there were pretty heavily curated. So you had all the blockbuster games every time they came out, and you did have a okay selection of indie games, but the only ones you ever saw were good. Like when you had the old slider box that you'd have to grab and go through, I knew that every one of those games was probably worth the money. And then around that time, they sort of opened the floodgates for like every asshole to put indie games on there. It went total garbage because you had those like PopCap games where somebody had 500 games on a CD, uploading each one individually. You had people just making the worst garbage things. The visibility of good stuff went into the toilet. I don't like the system now because it tries to guess what you want to do or play off of what you currently own or look at, which is the same kind of system that Netflix shoves at you. And you have no idea what's worthwhile. I have to go to other sites to see what's in the popular zeitgeist and what I might want to play. Like that Dun Greed game. I accidentally ran into that when I was looking through other games. I fucking love that game. It would have never offered me that. But I bet you when that game came out, it probably would have gotten somewhere, some sort of placement. So I think their storefront is a mess. I think they have a lot of issues, and I'm hoping that they can sort of come around and get away from that now that there's a competitor that's. I'm not going to call
big enough. It's big enough to make waves. I mean, Discord came out a few probably months ago at this point. They have their storefront, and
don't care.
You've got the Origin and the Uplays of the world, which are installed on enough people's computers, but they've never really taken the leap out into getting other people on board.
No, well, Uplay is relegated to a middleman because when you buy a game from Ubisoft, right? Yeah, Ubisoft. You can't play it without getting Uplay, and when you start it in Steam, it opens Uplay and it opens your game, which is annoying, but whatever. At least I don't have to really deal with their platform, really, for the most part. So I'm hoping the competition helps. And to be honest,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to be honest with you, the amount of money that they're talking about, how basically indie games they're gonna take a big chunk out of, and the high-end games they're not gonna take as much out of. Part of me feels that that's good because they're keeping away those crap performer games. They'll obviously be picked up by somebody else. You're going to lose some gems, but you are going to retain the AAA games that people want to actually come and play on your platform for.
What's left? That's my big problem. There's there's nothing AAA left on Steam. The Square
Uh,
Enix games are still there for now until they decide they want to open their own marketplace up. Steam was doing this to
let's see.
obviously try to keep the Blizzards and the Activisions and all these people of the world in their launcher. Say, hey, by the way, you don't need to worry about all that crap. We'll take care of all your credit card processing. Come back to Steam. We'll take less of your money. But everyone just keeps splintering off. And that was obviously to combat that. Now, Epic coming in and just completely crushing their offer is, I mean, Steam's not going to die. I'm not saying doom and gloom because it's installed on too many people's machines. It's too important to have your game on that just to get it available to places. But Epic, I really need to see some numbers. I really should look this up ahead of time. The amount of machines that the Epic launcher is installed on, because it has to be an enormous. Like it's like 75% of Switches have Fortnite on it. Like everybody that plays video games, all three of us, we don't play Fortnite. We've played it once. That shit's on all three of our computers.
No, mine's gone.
Did you delete it?
Yes,
I-
I don't.
I still
You
have
had
it the
beat-
one time we played it.
Yeah, I got rid of it because I didn't need it anymore, and I didn't want or need the system. But
Whatever. 2 out of 3 of us that never play Fortnite still have that on their machines.
there would have to be a significant draw for me to go to it, since I'm not a Fortnite player, and that's
You're also very invested in Steam. There's a whole new generation of PC gamers that are coming up with Fortnite. Fortnite is their
Yeah.
jam.
Well,
Fortnite
that's
as the
their
president
entrance
used to
into
say,
the
Fortnite
gaming
is their
sphere.
Halo. Fortnite is their
Yeah.
GoldenEye. That's their game that's going to define their childhood. And I don't necessarily understand it, but that doesn't mean it's a bad game. Like if we were to hand GoldenEye to those kids right now, they would laugh at us because it's awful. But we thought it was really great. Some of the things that I think that Epic is going to win with is they're starting out with a curated list of games. They're not just opening up the floodgates. They're not just saying every game can come
It's
over.
OG Steam.
Yeah. And they're really double, triple down on the Twitch and YouTube community, understanding that a lot of people get their game news from people like us, and they're gonna reward us for pushing people to their store instead of Steam. There's a cutback that'll come back to the influencer, and I think that's very important. You'd be surprised how many people are not looking at a big site like Kotaku or looking at the reviews on Steam, but they're seeing their favorite streamer play a game, and that's what's making them want to go out and play that game too. You like how I put us in there with the big streamers?
Yeah.
How many people are watching us right now? 10?
Influencers like us.
Influencers like us.
Yeah, I am slightly concerned about the competition getting rough enough that now you wind up with exclusives, because that's always fucking annoying when, as a PC ecosystem, there was not a whole lot of that going on. You still had those god-awful Origin exclusives that I didn't care too much for, but I don't want to see that cropping up too, where suddenly...
Unfortunately, it's here, man.
Yeah, it's gonna happen,
It's
but I'm
here.
hoping...
It's in every aspect of media in our life. That's the reason why you have Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and HBO Go. And there's never going to be one place that we can get everything.
Yeah, but there was for a while there, an equilibrium where it was like, if you want to play the new hot games outside of the one fucking game that they built a whole platform around, like Fortnite, or for a while there was like World of Warcraft, and then they're like, oh, well, we could play the other Warcraft games and you can play Diablo. And then they sort of created their own little ecosystem. But it's like, if you want to play the newer stuff, you get Steam. You want to play old games, you'd get Good Old Games. And if you wanted to play indies, you'd get that something IO or whatever the fuck it was. But they were all sort of coexisting in their own spheres of influence, and that was pretty good. I liked that.
Well, you can kiss those days goodbye, because I think they're long gone.
So fatalistic.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna start closing the show out with a non-topical topic, just a nice, fun discussion we can have about something game related. And this request or suggestion came in from you, Steve, but I rolled it up into a nice little package to make it timely. With Black Friday over, you're probably having some buyer's remorse about some of the stuff you bought. Maybe you didn't need that second Keurig, or maybe that Instapot. What are some big game related regrets that you have in your gaming career? Maybe a game that you bought that was utter garbage and then you were stuck with it.
Well, most recently, I think I told you guys this last time that I picked up Hellgate London and returned it under the 2-hour mark because it was garbage. But probably my biggest mistake game purchasing wise was anything off of Humble Bundle.
You a sucker for the low price?
I used to be back before they were like a name brand because they would sell only indies for the most part. They'd have like one mediocre good title, and then for an extra like $1 you bought like 10 games with it. So I did that probably like 4 or 5 times, and I'd wind up with like 50 or 60 of these just garbage games that I now have permanently stuck onto my Steam like games list. And another issue that I have with Steam is that you can't sort them. It's garbage. I just have this shit there forever, and I have to manually click on each one and either hide it or relegate it to a filtered like garbage bin, and it's fucking annoying. So I have an inflated list of games. It's harder to find stuff. It's an annoyance, and I should have never ever bought all that crap.
I have seen your Steam library, and it's insane.
Yeah. What are you at? Like 2,000 games or something like that?
No. It's a couple hundred.
Oh. I thought you were in the thousands. Like it was huge.
No. Currently, it says 491, but I have some of them hidden. 107 of them hidden. So I've got 506, right? No.
Close enough. We're not here to do math.
Yeah, but that number's always kind of weird because like when I bought Civ 4 or something like that, it came with like 2 DLCs, a beta, like a safe mode. So there's like 20 copies of the same goddamn game on there. Dota is the same way. Like you play it once, it's on there forever. And then there's Dota and Dota beta. So every like free-to-play game you've ever touched is stuck on your list too.
Yeah, I mean, I have PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds and PUBG Experimental Server and all kinds of good garbage. I'm actually interested to see. I'm, since we started doing this, I've been invited to a few private key events where they send you out a Steam key. You can, by the way, we're a legitimate gaming company if you ever need to talk to a developer. But I'm anxious to see if those games just hang around forever, like if they're timed, or do I just have those games now? We'll see.
I think my biggest regret is I played a lot of Game of War on my phone, probably about 2 or 3 years ago. I spent a lot more money than I care to admit on these time-locked mobile games that they're basically idle games masked with a war aspect of fighting other people.
Yeah, just blank of blank.
Yeah, that's definitely my biggest regret gaming wise, because actually I don't purchase a lot of games, so I was kind of scratching my head.
Do you know what that number is? Do you know what you spent on it?
Roughly, yeah.
So you don't have to say the exact number. I just want to round it down to a 0.
A 0?
So
I'll say it's above 100 and below 10,000. So, somewhere in the middle.
All right. That's the amount of zeros I was thinking you were gonna say.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I thought you were gonna say your Atari Jaguar.
No, I didn't buy that, but that thing was awesome. Like that is definitely not a regret. I had
good games out.
I had NBA Jam on it, which was awesome. I had Alien vs Predator, which was awesome. I had like 2 other games which I don't remember. Raiden, it was like the flyer shooter thing, and I think I had one more game that I don't remember. No, the Jaguar is definitely not a regret. That thing was awesome. I love that thing. Other than the controller, which was like literally like this big,
Hey,
like you had to like hold it in your arms because it was like huge,
arms would get tired from holding the controller for too long.
pretty much.
Well, I think most people would probably think that it's this as my gaming nightmare or gaming regret, but it's not. I actually had a lot of fun with this thing.
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
This is a Tiger Electronics Gamecom.
Huh.
It
So what is it?
it's a video game console. I've got
I'm pretty sure I saw
Duke
that
Nukem-
on
Duke
Angry
Nukem
Video Game
3D. Yeah, he did a whole special on the Tiger games. So a Tiger game, those little handheld games we had when we were kids, the little shitty line drawn calculator screen graphics.
Yeah.
You know, they had licensing for everything, every X-Men, every Turtles. There was a little Tiger game for. Well, they thought we're so good at making video games, we might as well make a video game console for this. And it's that same kind of calculator style screen. And I have to give them all the damn credit in the world because they went out and they got some freaking licenses, man. Like I have Resident Evil 2 and Duke Nukem 3D in here right now. I could go down into the garage where I have the rest of my games, and I could pull out Sonic Jam. I could pull out Mortal Kombat. What else do I have? I have all kinds of good shit. I didn't play a whole bit. Those games are all really bad. I usually just played it as a solitaire machine, and I got it from KB Toys out of the bargain bin for no money. So no, it is not my biggest gaming regret. My biggest
Actually,
gaming.
how you got that is exactly how I got a Virtual Boy.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it was Toys R Us. They had the boxes of them in a pyramid with like the "Please get it the fuck out of our store" sign, and I bought that with like 3 games, and it was not good, really, really not good. But I did actually enjoy it for a while, and I'm kind of sad that it eventually like neglected it to the point where it got fucked up and I threw it away.
No.
Yeah,
You could acquire all that stuff for not that much money on eBay. They're not expensive. I did get
there's no
Pink
reason
Eye.
to put that in my house.
I did get Pink Eye from a Virtual Boy at the Harrisburg East Mall. So that's my whole entire Virtual Boy. I was playing the Wario game for it, and yeah, I got Pink Eye the next day.
I played the shit out of like the tennis game because it was one of the 4 games
Yeah.
I had.
saw that.
And the Tetris game was really, really interesting, but really hard to play in like their weird 3D sort of ecosystem. So it was worth like the $20 that I think my mom paid for it.
Oh wow, and no,
Right.
definitely. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a shame that you don't have it anymore because you could have some fun with that now.
So if it's
No,
not that
you couldn't.
Gamecom, what is your worst purchase?
It's my Wii U,
Really?
believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
can see
eventually
that.
ended up not being that big of a deal, but at the time when I bought it, I shouldn't have. Like I was so brainwashed by the previous console generation where the Wii was so hard to get. I mean, there was a whole Christmas cycle where people were beating the shit out of each other to try to get a hold of one of these things. Our friend from college, Bondi, he waited in line for like 12 hours and like camped out, like got the tent out of the bag at Walmart and like slept in it in line to
We
like
did the
get a
same thing
Wii.
for ours.
It was insane. So when I went to Walmart, I went to get groceries and I walked back through the electronics department and there was a Wii U sitting right down there. I'm like, shit, what, they must have just gotten a shipment, man. What people must have not seen this. Like, I gotta buy it. Like, I didn't have the money for it right then, but I had to buy it. And there was nothing really to play on that thing for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
So,
played it over at Phil's, and I was like, I don't want anything to do with this. This isn't fun. or
I mean, it
interesting.
ended up redeeming itself. I mean, Smash Brothers came out on it. It had some of the best games in their series. At the time, it had the best Smash Brothers game. It has the best Mario Kart game. It has the best Pikmin game. It has really good 2D Marios if you're into the. It has. I mean, it ended up redeeming itself, but at the time, it wasn't great. Again, I signed up for GameFly because I didn't want to buy any games for it because I spent all my money on the system, and I played a bunch of stuff. I played Zombie U, not a good game. You had to, in that game, the thing I remember about that is you had to like put your bag on the ground and take your weapon off and look in your bag, and your game didn't pause when you were rummaging through your bag, so shit would just eat you when you were doing that. But yeah, I'd say my Wii U was definitely my biggest like buyer's remorse.
I think the Wii is what sparked my beginning of the end for console purchasing, because I did the same thing. We stayed out at a Target for like 4 hours until somebody came out and told us how many they had, and I think it was like 12 of them. And my brother and I were out in line, and we're sitting there counting the people, and we were 13 and 14. So at the time, they had just opened up a new Target, and a guy we were standing with was like, "Oh, I heard they have some over there." So everybody who was beyond us made like a cannonball run type thing over to the other Target, and we got in line, froze our asses off for like 3 more hours, and then they came out and gave tickets, and we bought them, and we were good to go. But I did all that for that system, played it a decent amount for a month or two, and I didn't put probably anywhere near as many hours into it as I did like Far Cry 5.
Yeah.
I just didn't touch it, and I basically fell for the same thing again when I really, really wanted the Super Nintendo Classic. I'm still happy that I bought it and that I have it for when I do want to play those games. But I played Kirby with my wife for like a couple hours, and then I played Zelda by myself for a couple hours, and it's been locked in a drawer ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that those mini consoles were hard to get, because I definitely would have scrounged up both of them right away if I would have been able to go to the shelf and pick one up. But now that some time has passed and I was able to ponder on it, they're just not something I'm interested in.
Yeah, I enjoy the PC ecosystem because I can get so many games at a relatively low price that I can sort of do my Locust thing where I just get really attached to one game, play the shit out of it for like 10 to 20 hours, and I never touch it again. I recently found money on my Nintendo account for our Nintendo 3DS. So I bought a couple games off of their e-store, and I've probably bought like 4 or 5 cheap games and played none of them over 3 hours because they just can't grab my attention, and I lose interest in them too quickly. And I just wanted something to sit on the couch, and so I could spend time with my wife in the evenings.
Do you want to
And-
borrow my GameCom?
No, I just wind up sitting on my phone on a random website because all mobile games are garbage.
Until Tony Hawk
Oh
Mobile
yeah.
comes out next week.
Yep. The 13th. Get
I'm
ready.
going to do nothing but stream Tony Hawk Mobile on this channel, and I'm going to bury us.
Dude, Katamari comes out in 2 days.
Whoa, go back. What was that?
What?
Katamari?
Yeah, it comes out on the Switch on Friday.
I don't have a fucking Switch. Fuck you guys.
Yep. I
Join the club, man.
definitely
Smash
getting
Brothers
that.
comes out on Friday. You're not going
One-
to see me doing anything but playing Smash Brothers until Tony Hawk comes out, and then I'm going to be playing Tony Hawk.
Once I can get a Switch at a garage sale, I'll probably own one. But
I think we should have an after show. So I'm going to sign off here. I'm going to do a little outro so we can cut this and put it on YouTube, and this can be the end of our show. And then we'll have a little after show because I have some topics I still want to talk about, but I don't want to be in the main show. So if you like what you saw, you can find us every Wednesday here on twitch.tv/game night now. 1, 2, 3, 4, hopefully 5 of us sometime. We'll be sitting down talking about this week's game news. Hopefully next week we'll have some card game news, not just all video game news to talk about. You can catch the video archive of all of our shows on YouTube as well as right here on Twitch in the video archive. So until next week, I'm Dan, Max, and Steve. See you later. All right, Max, keep the stream up.
Okay.
That was just a little outro, so I know a place to cut.
Okay.
So I was talking to one of my coworkers about like regrets, and we started talking about regrets outside of video games, like some things that you bought, and then it sparked something in me that reminded me of the biggest regret that I've ever had, and it was my first CD I ever purchased. I really liked the Independence Day movie, and specifically I liked the song End of the World by REM,
Mm-hmm.
which they played in that movie. So
We just got our first CD player. I had no CDs. I went down to Media Play, and I pick up the soundtrack to. Man, I'm here. Max, can you turn yourself down a little bit? I'm hearing myself coming back through you again. So I pick up the soundtrack to Independence Day, and I'm thrilled. I'm going to be able to listen to this song that I've been enamored with. I get home, and I bought the orchestral score
Nice.
of Independence Day. So it was just all symphony music, and it was my first CD, so I had the only thing I convinced myself it was good.
I think the worst purchase that I ever made was a scam that I fell for.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I think I had to either update or renew my registration or my license. And this was years and years ago. And so I Googled up how to renew your registration in Pennsylvania. And the first Google search result was one of those paid for ones
yeah.
that I didn't notice. And it took you to what looked like a government sort of site, and you had to pay like $12, and all it was a zipped file that you could download, and when you open it up, it had a document that told you the steps for going to the government website and how to actually renew it. And I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. So I wound up calling my bank and just saying that it was fraud. Like somebody got a hold of it and did that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's probably the worst purchase I've ever made. That I actually thought that it was going to be a real item, and then it was just like, Jesus Christ, because it was absolutely worthless.
Yeah, no, they that's usually to take advantage of old people, but hey, I got you too.
Yeah, I didn't notice that it wasn't a
yeah
PA driver's license.gov. It was like .net or some shit like that.
I'm always wary of that crap because I was looking for you guys. Do you guys just stick with your electric provider from your provider? Or do you guys shop around?
I actually don't do nearly any of the bills Sarah does, but she told me that we had to do a selection this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always shit. They always try to compete for you, but it's one of those things.
It's only good for a year, and then then they'll jack your price up.
Yeah, they net you in for a 3-year contract. So,
well, the website for that is papowerswitch.org, which sounds just like the worst scam website ever. I'm like, this can't be the real one, but it is. Next, you got any non-gaming, just regrettable decisions you made with your money? Well, actually, I know lots of regrettable decisions you made with your money, but
I regret everything. Literally everything. Nothing specific I can think about right now.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, the other thing I wanted to talk about was this thing that Phil sent into the chat. Did you click on it by any chance?
In Discord?
Yeah.
I'm worried that if I click away from our cameras, it's gonna mess up the OBS.
No, you can.
I'm gonna do it, but I'm worried. Yeah.
We're in the post show now, man.
Okay, I'm just telling you, you are no longer on stream.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Soldier
Did
Boy.
Did you do what are you doing? A window capture or a screen capture?
It's a window capture. So yeah.
You should still the window as long as you don't
Nope.
change the size of the window, it should stay there if it's a window capture.
No, it's capturing this specific area on Discord. So
right,
when I
Ryan, don't worry about it. I will tell you what it says.
All right.
It says Soldier Boy is trying to sell some sort of game console that is basically an emulator.
Yeah, it's hilarious, man. Are you seeing this?
How
I'm gonna
how
click on
long
the
has
link.
Soldier Boy been around for? Because I
I don't know, but it says he's only 28 years old. There's no way he's 28 years old. The Soldier Boy
high school.
No,
I think he was
I don't
early
think so.
college. He was early college.
Yeah.
Because I definitely Superman that hoe many a time, cranking that to Soldier Boy.
At
I remember
the dad.
2007? was when Soldier Boy was when Crank That came out.
It says he was born 1990. So yeah.
That's stupid. That's real stupid. Either way, I think he's lost his goddamn mind. He's just posted he posted literally a picture of a PlayStation controller on his Twitter page. He posted a picture of like a Chinese knockoff Switch, and it can supposedly output 4K resolution. He's like the kid you went to elementary school with, whose dad worked at Nintendo and got all the cool stuff. Like, he's just flat out lying about stuff.
Yeah, I remember that guy getting into all sorts of shit a couple years ago on like some websites where they were like fighting with him or something like that, and I don't know, it was fucking stupid, and I didn't care about him. I thought he disappeared along with like Crisscross and all the other people who have like a hit and then you never hear from them again.
Speaking of Crisscross, I was looking at game series. I resurrect for that first question we had tonight, and there was a series of games for the Sega CD where you used to be able to edit music videos, and one of them was Crisscross, and the other one was Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, and I want both of them right now.
Sega? You mean Sega Saturn, or is there something else?
Sega CD, the Sega CD attachment.
Actually, that reminds me of a game I used to play, and
Dude, this thing's $99, and we have money in our PayPal account.
You want to spend our money on Soldier Boy's
So
emulator?
I think I want to spend our hard-earned money on Soldier Boys. Oh my god!
Is it currently available?
It's yeah. Add to cart.
All right. What's it called? Let's see if anyone's playing it on Twitch.
It's called Soulja Game. SOULJA game. It can't be out. Like I think this is probably like a pre-release. Like we're pre-ordering it.
Okay, so you guys remember Monster Rancher, right?
That's the game where you put your like audio CDs into your PlayStation.
Yeah. So there was a knockoff of that was mostly around like dragons instead of random monsters, and I played the shit out of that on the PlayStation, and I'd have to like raid my brother's room for CDs since I didn't really have any to try to farm up like monsters that were worthwhile.
Sorry, I'm just enamored by this system.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna head out here soon.
All right,
do you like my tree lights?
I think it looks really good.
They changed
It's
color.
nice ambiance.
Yeah, they're
I
purple,
actually just
they're blue, they're red now.
I actually just threw them up. They're not actually supposed to be on there. They're those like strip LEDs that you put like behind your TV or wherever else. I bought them for my office because I was trying to put them around the light over top of me to get rid of the fluorescent one, but they weren't bright enough for that specific thing. So I put them upstairs under our TV stand, and they look really, really good. And there's a sale, so I bought another set, and all of our Christmas lights were broken. Every single one of them. So we had to go out and buy more, and we ran out of time to put them up. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, I don't want just this like dark tree behind me. And I just had the spool here, so I just sort of spooled it out all over the tree and turned whatever the fade out setting is. But I actually really like the way it looks through the camera. And you get this remote with like every fucking button on the sun.
Oh, nice. Is that one of the ones that you can pass through an HDMI signal and it like picks what colors on the screen and tries to match the
No,
TV?
these are like $10 Chinese ones.
Well,
so
there's ones that do that.
Although I did find out, you see how many goddamn buttons are on this thing?